Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today we have one of the most important topics in the organometallic chemistry, that is your Zeise salt. Now, this topic is such a topic which you expect that with maximum probability that you will get this question in the exam. And there are always the questions which are asked in every competitive exam, even if it is your NEET, even if it is your higher exams like GATE, this CSIR exams, or even the exams related to the JAM and even the lecturership exams. So this is important. So I will try to concise the information for you here. So what I have done, I have prepared some sort of note here so that you can use the same note for the exam purpose. And this is the note. I have tried to gather the important points where the questions are asked in the competitive exams also. So this is the note for your exam also. At the same time, you can hope that the question comes within this portion. So let's begin. First of all, so this Zeise salt, now you can see here the structure, this on the right and left. So this is your Zeise salt. So this was first of all discovered by, Denmark chemist William Zeise. So on that basis, its name is Zeise salt in 1827. So if you see its IUPAC name, it is basically potassium trichloroplatinoate second hydrate. Hydrate means when you crystallize this molecule, so there's water of crystallization. So that's why it's a hydrate. Second 2 refers to the platinum. It has oxidation state of +2. So it's platinum +2. And then potassium salt. So this complex is balanced by the counter ion potassium. Now let us begin. So there are two aspects. One is the structure and then important aspect, that is the bonding. Now structure, how we know the structure? The most important tool in the inorganic chemistry or organometallic chemistry, the important tool to reveal the structure is your X-ray crystallography. Now from the X-ray crystallographic data, it revealed that ethylene molecule. So one of the ligands is ethylene. 3 ligands are 3 Cl chloride. So but we have one ethylene. Now that ethylene molecule was found side on to the platinum. You can see here in the figure. So this is your 3 chlorides and this is the side on ethylene molecule. And you can see here also, right? Now the 2 carbon atoms, they had about the same distance to the platinum, arguing that they are equally spaced from the platinum. Now these 2 carbon atoms, very interesting that this ligand, these 2 carbons, they are equally from this platinum, or I can say on this diagram on the right side, look at this cursor. So this distance, this PTC distance and this PTC distance is same. Means this ethylene ligand, the 2 carbons of the ethylene ligand, they are almost at the same distance. And you can see here, the distance is 216 picometers for one carbon and 215 for another carbon. So that's almost the same distance, point number 1. Ethylene molecule was oriented perpendicular to the plane made by the 3 chloroligands. So these are 3 chloroligands. These. Something like this. Now on this side you can see this is the plane. These 3 chloroligands, they are on the plane. So this is perpendicular. This ethylene ligand is perpendicular to this plane. Okay. And all these PTC, CLPTC bond angles, they are 90. This means this angle 90, this angle 90, this angle. So these are almost 90. Okay. Overall, the structure could be described as a structure derived from this square planar. So in general, even though it is not 100% square planar, but it is like a square planar structure. And we know that the heavy transition elements in the 4D and 5D series, they prefer those type of structures where the structures are like the geometries are square planar, platinum, palladium. So this is also some sort of the square planar structure. The only difference is that in the square planar, all these 4 ligands, let's say there is some chlorine ligand Cl. So normally in the square planar, all these 4 are there on the plane. But here one ligand ethylene, it's perpendicular to the plane of these three. Okay. So why it is perpendicular? To minimize the steric repulsion, because this ethylene ligand, it's a bulkier ligand in comparison to these Cl. So it orients itself in such a fashion so that the repulsion gets minimized. Okay. So this is the important point. Now bonding, the most important aspect where the questions are asked. The CC bond length in the Z salt was significantly longer, 114 picometers, 44 rather, than the free ethylene molecule. If you have a free ethylene molecule, alkene molecule, now we have a double bond here, so this bond distance between the two carbon atoms, normally this bond distance between the two carbon atoms, this bond distance I am talking about, this, it's normally 34 picometers, but in this structure, you can see in this structure, this is around 137 angstrom, so that's 137 picometers, and on the different scales you can see it's 144, so 137 to 144, you can remember this value. So the bond length, the CC bond length in the Z salt, the Z salt which contains ethylene molecule, now that ethylene molecule has a CC bond, it is 144 picometers. While if you have a free ethylene molecule, it is 134, means the bond length has got increased. So this bond length has got increased. Now what is the reason for this? Or you can also say that the bond length, that the bond has become weaker. Bond length increase means bond has become weaker. And bond order was smaller than 2. Now as the bond order goes down, that means the bond length increases. As the bond order increases, we know the bond length reduces, bond becomes stronger. But in this case, the bond is becoming weaker, so we should say the bond order becomes less than 2 if you calculate this. Now reason, look at ethylene molecule basically uses its pi electrons for the sigma bonding with the metal d orbital. Look at this diagram now. Now these are the metal d orbital. This is your ethylene molecule. Now it's a pi bond. It has a bonding and anti-bonding molecular orbital. So let's say this is your bonding molecular orbital. So what it does, it donates electrons into the, or you should say it overlaps this orbital and the metal d orbital. They overlap and then it donates the electrons. So this is a sigma bond. So this is what it says, that it uses its pi electrons for sigma bond formation with the metal d orbital. And then the orbital used by the metal is dx square minus y square. So this is basically among the 5d orbitals on the metal, this is dx square minus y square. Why it used? Because there's a correct orientation to overlap with the bonding pi orbitals of the ethylene. So it can only transfer the electrons when there's a correct overlap, and it is actually dx square minus y square orbital which has the correct overlap for this sigma donation. So through this interaction, what has happened? The electron density, it gets donated from the bonding ligand pi orbital into the metal d. So what is the result of this? The electron density gets donated from the bonding orbital, bonding pi orbital into the orbital of dx square minus y square orbital of the metal. Okay, so that means it results in lowering the electron density for forming the pi bond with the, so on this ligand the electron density has got reduced because it has got donated towards the metal, and thus the bond order is decreased. So the important point is that in the first step it has donated its pi bonding electron density, and there is another orbital called pi anti-bonding. Now when the electron density gets decreased and minimized on the bonding orbital, that means this bond gets weak. Fine. And the step number 2, this is interesting, there's another effect. It's basically a synergistic effect that lowers the bond order. What is that? A metal d orbital can interact with the pi anti-bonding orbital in the pi fashion. In this process, the electron density gets donated from the metal d orbital into the empty pi orbital of the ligand. As I mentioned earlier, this pi bond, it has pi bonding and pi anti-bonding orbitals present as per the molecular orbital theory. So when it donates the electrons from pi bonding into this, so pi bonding electron density got removed, it got decreased, so bond order gets less, so the bond becomes weaker. Now in the point number 2, the filled metal orbital, they donate the electron density into the anti-bonding orbital. Now you can see two lobes, so that's basically the anti-bonding pi. So rule is that when the electron density gets added up in the anti-bonding orbital, the stability decreases, the bond order decreases. The stability decreases, bond order decreases means the bond length increases. So both these factors, one is a removal of electron density in the step number 1 from the pi bonding into the metal d orbital, it reduces the bond length of the CC, and step number 2, the donation of electron density from the metal d orbital into the anti-bonding orbital of this pi anti-bonding orbital of this CC bond. So that also reduces the electron the CC bond the CC bond stability. So this first step it's called as sigma donation, and second it's called as pi acceptance, because it accepts the electrons from metal d orbital into the pi antibonding. So in both these cases, the bond length, the CC bond length gets increased. You can say the bond order gets decreases, or you can say that this CC bond, this length, it's getting the less stable. It's getting larger and larger. It's getting weaker. The bond is getting weaker. So since the bond is getting weaker, that is why this bond length in this Z salt, this is more than the usual bond length of free alkene, that is 134 picometers. So again, I will just pick up some of the important points. Number 1, Z salt, it was discovered by William Zeise 1827. It's called as platinum potassium trichloroplatinate second hydrate. So there's a water of crystallization. +2 is the oxidation state. So the structure was revealed from the X-ray. There are 3 chlorine atoms on the plane, and this ethylene molecule ligand, this is perpendicular to this plane. Now if we talk about these bond lengths, both these carbons, they are at the same distance from this platinum, and then this CC bond, this is not usual CC bond, it is less. It's weaker, its bond length is less than the free alkene. The reason is that in the step number 1, this pi bonding orbital, it donates the electrons into the vacant d orbital of metal, that is dx square minus y square, and in the step number 2, it gives back electron density from the metal orbital into the pi anti-bonding orbital. So both these cases, that is the sigma donation and pi acceptance, it results in lowering of bond order, it results in weakening of this bond, or you should say the bond length increases in this alkene, in the Z salt. So these are some of the important points. I hope you understood. If you have any questions, so you can write down the comments, or you are free to write down the message. So thank you. And also, as usual, you can download this note from the description. There's a link, so you can download it.